Occasionally, dishonest casino, guys, this example is used mostly in our probability books where we are talking about gene predictions, etc. So let's go over what this is about. So a dishonest casino is it's not all the time dishonest because they need to run their business. So casino is where people they play those games of chances. We don't do that, by the way, but this example is important as far as understanding these what is coming, the probabilistic models for gene finding are concerned. So what they do is they take those. Let's see how we can elaborate this example. So we have a situation here, guys. So we have a casino and that has two dice. If they use fair die, we can have the probability of all events 1 to 6, which is same for everybody. P of 1 is equal to P of 2 and that is equal to P of 3, which is equal to 4, 5 and 6. So that is 1 by 6. So if they use loaded die, and the P of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 is equal to 1 by 10, since for half of the times they use this P of 6, which is equal to half of the time. So we get 50% 6 if the loaded die is used. So remaining half is obviously divided into remaining 5. So their probability becomes 1 by 10. So casino players, they switch back and forth between fair and loaded die once every 20 turns. For example, in this example, we say they throw this loaded die once in every 20 turns. So what happens is you bet $1 and then you roll. Most of the time you are rolling with a fair die. So die they gave you is fair, but their player they have both those dice. What if he uses the loaded die all the time? So in that case, obviously, you can straight away doubt that they have some issue with their die. So generally, they don't use this die most frequently. That's why it's occasionally dishonest. If they are all-time dishonest, obviously, one would not go and play over there. So casino player rolls maybe with fair or maybe with loaded die, and the highest number wins 6. So what is the probability of you getting a 6? That is 1 by 6. And what is the probability of he getting the 6? If he is using fair, obviously it's 1 by 6. And if he flips around, uses the other die, which is loaded one, so he can get over half of the time. So his chances are more since he is using the loaded die also. Okay guys, so here are the outcomes we see from these so many throws. So in topmost case, we see or we doubt that this is a loaded die, where we can see that somewhere he switched back to this loaded die, where we see lot of sixes. And again we see those sixes by the end of this sequence. And if the die is fair, we will expect these numbers. Do we see any patterns from this fair die? No. Why? Whereas from the loaded die, we can see that we have some places we have some particular outcomes like sixes are thrown more. So if there is some smart player sitting in that casino, he can expect that after how many events they switch into those loaded die. In that case, he can bet on better numbers. So let's see how this fair and loaded dice example is comparable to the gene finding situations. If we look into the gene rich regions, we see that there are some nucleotides which are present more frequently. For example, there is one thing called as CPG. In order to just keep in track that this is coming from the same strand, it's not like GCs where G and C are in opposite strands and they find those bonds with one another. So CPG is just to keep track that they are coming from the same strand. So presence of more CPGs in the gene rich regions is kind of a situation which is similar to this loaded die, where we can see that when the die is being loaded, we observe more occurrences of sixes. So here, guys, we can treat this, or if we want to find the analogy between these two situations, we can say that this die here is four-sided. So God is using A, T, G, and C. There are four outcomes for this die, which is deriving your genes, structure of your genes, and the function of your genes. So if we look into the genes rich regions, we see more CGs. So if in some sequence you are getting more CGs or more CPGs, you suspect that there is some loaded die has been used, or there is a scenario where you can find some genes. So why God is using loaded die here? Because he has a purpose, some purpose which is associated with it. So you can estimate the occurrences of the CGs, and then you can get their probabilities. If their probabilities are more, you suspect that there is some gene which is coming. While comparing these gene-rich regions to the intergenic regions, you don't find any runs of CGs together or CPG islands. So guys, this is the example where this occasionally dishonest casino helps you understand the structure of the genes. Occasionally dishonest casino is a highly used example in probability theory, and it is good example to illustrate or understand the process of gene finding.